Hi, everybody. This is Allison from Allykatkreations. How are you? Before I start the Kybalion, if you have it within you to help me, Amish mindset, like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Repost, as in sharing. And if you get anything from my work, a mic drop, an epiphany, a new book to read, a new author to explore, please considering giving me a love donation. And there's a link also if you would like to help me in my move. I'm still here. Still here. I'm on the brink. Threads. Done. Done. Like, I could be patient, but I've been patient. It's been a year. And it's cold, and I can't put my heat on. Right? Because the electric bill is so high, and I can't afford my bills. Co-host number one, actually, co-host number two is in co-host number one spot. So I don't know. She's gonna be up and down until he moves. They're keeping me warm. Okay, now you both leave. Thanks. This is a very important book, by the way. Yes. Very important. It's rainy and gross here in New York. I was dog sitting, so I go in a couple of times a day to my neighbor's house to take care of her dog while she's away. And it was rainy and freezing and today. It's a Sunday. The Kybalion, gender. I'm just going to put this out there at first. The second part of this might get very confusing. So I'm just going to roll with it. I'm going to give you my insights. And a lot of the note taking is from the book, kind of like rebirded. Quote, gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes, the Kybalion. The seventh Hermetic principle of gender, the masculine and feminine principles, which are present activated in all phases of phenomena, which encompasses all planes of life. Gender derived from the Latin language, root to beget, procreate, to generate, to create, to produce. Sex isn't implied here. Sex manifests on the great physical plane of organic life. But when the Kybalion is talking about gender, it's the poles, our masculine and feminine poles, and we're going to go into that. The principles of gender shows up in ions, corpuscles, and electrons, which forms matter in some combos from the atom. So as these things are whizzing through, right, in certain combinations, they combine to make an atom. With atoms, it's made up with positive and negative. Quote, this is in line with the most ancient Hermetic teachings, which have always identified the masculine principle of gender with the positive and the feminine with the negative poles of electricity. Quote, the word positive means something real and strong as compared with a negative unreality or weakness. Nothing is further from the real facts of electrical phenomena, end quote. This is the best part. When looking at a battery, the negative pole is in the generation of energy. The cathode is a replacement of the term negative, a word with Greek roots, descent. The path of generation. The cathode sometimes is dubbed the mother principle of electrical phenomena. Quote, so you see, we are justified in refusing to use the term negative in our consideration of the subject and insisting upon substituting the word feminine for the old term. When a feminine corpuscle detaches from its masculine corpuscle, it starts anew. It seeks union with a masculine corpuscle and with naturally occurring impulse, creates a form of matter of energy. So here we're looking at, oh, how annoying. Sorry, guys, I can't shut that off. People are messaging me. Jeez Louise. Hang on. Sorry about that. So if you look at a battery, you have your positive and negative poles. And when you put them in devices, you have to flip them. A battery can't work without either pole. And when this is talking about gender, it's about energy. It's not about that other topic. So when all these atoms are whizzing through to create matter, they form a dance and then sparks anew, right? It's all physics. And once you understand that component, a lot of things will start coming into clarity. Quote, this detachment and uniting from the basis of the greater part of the activities of the chemical world. When both feminine and masculine corpuscles meet, a process begins. The particles of the feminine vibrate rapidly with the influence of particles of the masculine, which circle rapidly around the latter, which result in the birthing of a new atom. Morgan is playing with her toy. You might hear her howl. So again, we have the vibratory rate of something going in a higher density. And when it meets fusion, I can't conceptualize that in my head. I wish I had found drawings that were of non-copyright, because yeah. But I'm sure there is videos and stuff if you're interested in like looking up what this looks like. I'm sure people have computer generated what that birthing process looks like. The new atom is in the union of feminine and masculine electrons. The detachment of the feminine electrons is called ionization, which we are very active in the natural field. With all these unions create light, heat, electricity, attraction, magnetism, repulsion, chemical affinity, the reverse, and similar phenomena. All of these brings the operation of the principle of gender on the plane of energy. And when we have a lightning storm outside, that actually makes negative ions, which is very good for us. That's why they tell you when it rains and you go outside after a thunderstorm, you should go outside. It's very healthy. I don't know if you could hear that, but it's funny. Each principle can't operate energy without the other. In matter, the organic world manifests both genders. Quote, it will be found that gender is in constant operation and manifestation in the field of inorganic matter and in the field of energy or force. It's very important to understand how things alchemically are derived and created, and how we are created, how electricity within us works, how both of our poles are very important, both aspects of feminine and masculine very much matter. It's Hermetic in principle, but it's physics. It's science in its earliest forms. Morgan's having really a lot of fun, so I do apologize. She's being cute. Mental gender. So here we have just the feminine and the masculine in terms of particles, ions, corpuscles, making atoms, needing to have both to spark new and create new life in an atom, right? We have the battery that when it's connected gives a spark of life to a material object. Mental gender is very similar. Quote, the late Thomas J. Hudson obtained great popularity in 1893 by advancing his well-known theory of the objective and subjective minds, which he held existed in every individual. End quote. Which brings up other topics debated on conscious, subconscious minds, also voluntary and involuntary minds, also active and passive. Though combined through each of these hosts, the ideal of duality of mind. Because you have to have your positive and your negative poles. You have to have your masculine and your feminine. Both polarities functioning within the scale of rhythm. God, I can't today. Quote, the masculine principle of mind corresponds to what some call the objective mind, conscious mind, that's active. The feminine principle of mind corresponds to what some would call subjective mind, the subconscious mind, involuntary mind that's passive. The Hermetic stance on the mental gender is to look at one's own consciousness regarding their self. Going inward, the I am may be separated or split into two distinct parts or aspects, which, while working in unison in conjunction, may be separated in consciousness. The mental twins, the I and me, they differ in phenomena. The me, usually mistaken for the I, sometimes of itself, as an aspect of me, being made up of feelings, likes, habits, dislikes, characteristics, which makes up the personality. These traits change and born and die. They're subject to the principle of rhythm and polarity. Quote, he also thinks of the me as being certain knowledge gathered together in his mind, and thus forming a part of himself. This is a me of a man, end quote. My freshman year of college, I went to art school, mind you. My freshman year lit teacher was a doctor of French existentialism and aesthetics. Brilliant mind. Did not like me very much because I'm dyslexic. He liked my poetry. But he made us write an entire essay of like 10 pages without using the word I. You couldn't use it. It was hard. That was a challenge. And I challenged people to do the same thing. Can you write something about yourself without using I? It's hard. It's a challenge for sure. You don't have to write 10 pages, but just try going and writing about yourself without using I. So I'm sure a lot of people can do it. It's just for a lot of people, especially back when you're in your early 20s and just started college, you don't think of these things. You're not pondering these things. You're going out and living your life, right? So it's hard. The me expressed in consciousness are largely in bodily nature, personal appearance, and clothing. As a part of the me, some cannot conceive of as self-independent of the body. So that's your outwardly expression. The me is what you appear to people. It's your choice of clothing. It's your aesthetic that you like to present to the world. As consciousness rises, the disentanglement of me occurs from the idea of body and to think of the body belonging to the mental part. One can change these stances by the will, which enables one to set aside the feelings and emotions as not me. A lot of people are starting with their shadow work doing that now. A lot of people are separating the projected me, what you're putting out into the universe, what people see, and you're really starting to go inside and actually actualize your actual self, the totality of you. A lot of people are starting to go inside and start understanding the I essence of them, because it's a lot. After putting aside this notion, he is conscious possession of a self, which may be considered in its I and me dual aspects. Quote, the me will be felt to be a something mental in which thoughts, emotions, ideas, feelings, and other mental states may be produced, considered the mental womb, with powers of creation of mental progeny. Though it needs some I energy, which being its mental creation, thus its consciousness, brings realization of a large capacity for mental work and creative ability. End quote. It's a lot. The me is your expression, it's your feelings. I would say the I is how you manifest. The me is a creative, once put aside to mental creation. That part of self is called I. Then one can rest in its consciousness at will. I is the masculine principle of mental gender. The me, the feminine principle. Quote, the I represents the aspect of being, the me, the aspect of becoming. As above, so below. The feminine principle is about generating new thoughts, ideas, concepts, working the imagination. The masculine principle contents with the work of the will. The will of the masculine needs to be an aid, active with the will. The feminine principle is apt to rest, content with generating mental images, which result of impressions coming from outside stimuli, instead of producing original mental creations. I know it gets it's a lot, and it's not easy to word it properly. And I'm trying to project out. Arthur Schopenhauer has a fantastic book about the will as representation. The world as will. It's very hard to grasp that book, but in its essence, it's really uncovering this principle. And it goes into both aspects of the will of a person, the will of your masculine side, which not too many people actually express their will. A lot of people are weak in will. They allow other things to take control over them. They have, and we'll get into that because there's more to this. While a lot of people sit in the feminine principle because you're expressing yourself creatively, you're projecting out creativity, imagination, which is what we all need anyway, but we need a balance. You have to have a neutrality point within these two poles to be balanced, to harmonize, so that they work in conjunction with each other, just like a battery. It works the same way with our minds. We have two poles, two lobes. We have a feminine and a masculine aspect of ourselves. It's how we project ourselves. And usually one dominates over the other, but we really need to come into, as in Hermetic principles and teachings, the whole part is the adept, the student learning how to control their mind, their mindset, the projection out to the world, to the inner world. It's all about the harmonization of those poles and vibrating it rapidly to increase. this is the fun part about the mental gender. Applying the principle to telepathy is very important. To the principle of vibration, the masculine principle is projected toward the feminine of another person with seeds thoughts, allowing it to grow. What? When you want to get somebody's attention and you hone in and focus on them, you're projecting that masculine energy vibrationally out to another, where their female receptor takes in that energy vibration and seeds it and allows it to grow, because it's a process. Telepathy is not something that's here on this dimension full force and everybody can use it. It's not there yet, right? This also corresponds with suggestion and hypnotism, where the masculine principle of the person giving the suggestions directs the stream flow of vibrating energy or willpower toward the feminine principle of the other person. So when someone is in a trance, somebody is out and you're giving them suggestions, it's their feminine principle that's absorbing those suggestions, those hypnotic suggestions. Whether it be to stop smoking, whether it to be cluck like a chicken, they're using that vibrational energy to get that person to do as it wills. That makes sense. Now, quote, look at the strong people, how they manage to implant their seed thoughts in the minds of the masses of the people, thus causing the latter to think thoughts in accordance with the desires and wills of the strong individuals. This is why the masses of people are such sheep-like creatures, never originating an idea of their own, nor using their own powers of mental activity, end quote. The balance of both plays out in natural law, the law of nature. Ladies and gentlemen, the last quote is one of the reasons why we have a mass awakening right now. When you learn how to hone in both of your poles of masculine and feminine, like the battery, and how to project and neutralize and use them in harmony with each other, using your masculine and your feminine directly, and harmonize it, it's hard to be suggested to. We saw that the last 2 years, especially as the social experiment of the planet has happened. We had very strong people behind the camera, maybe not even with their words, but linguists giving hypnotic suggestions, fear porn, to the masses, who in then exchange sit in fear, not thinking for themselves, allowing these people to dictate to them how to feel and what to express. If you want to be plain and blunt about it, that's exactly what happened. They're using their masculine willpower to overbear people, to suggest, to hypnotize them into believing certain ideologies, narratives. And these people followed along. And this has happened through history and throughout the millennia and aeons of Earth. You're always going to have a follower and you're always going to have a leader, but there should be an equal give and take. If you're always following, you're a sheep. There's nothing, you know. I would think you want an equal tone and balance there. Sometimes you would want to be the lion, and sometimes being the sheep isn't a bad thing. But it's what will is being imposed on you that matters. Are you working for the good of humanity, or are you being led to slaughter? You have to use your vibration with the intention of whatever pole you're doing your work in. If you're of the positive polarity, you want to vibrate positive intentions out into the world. You want to use your I presence, because I am that I am a part of the all. As above, so below. You're here in duality. The Hermetic principles are here to teach everybody to use both female and masculine, feminine and masculine traits, to come and combine them and marry them in harmony so that a new creation can be born. And that doesn't need to be necessarily an actual human birth. That could be a birth of a creation in terms of music, in terms of art, in terms of being just you. That's how it shows up in the physical plane. When you overwill somebody, you have control of them. When you have strong willpower, you can seed things into people, and you want the good seeds to be seeded in people, not the negative, but the positive. But there's always a pro and a con that work together. This is a principle that was manipulated and used throughout history to enslave the masses. There's my co-host number 2. People want to know why I read these kind of things. You know, they are unknowing of these principles. They think it's of evil, but it's neither. Understanding how one has been manipulated, how throughout history they've used these laws and principles for the negative poles instead of the positive. When you could step into your acknowledgement of who you are and claim the I and not the me, because you always are going to have a me, you're always going to be expressing out to the universe. That doesn't stop. But that's what most people just project, is the me aspect of them, the vanity, the appearances, where they're never actualizing the I am presence within them, within their embodiment. That's why a lot of people have a hard time when they watch me. They're only seeing the outside of me. They're not seeing the actualization of the I am presence that flows through me. I know what I am. I am that I am. I don't hide it either. I don't allow other people to see things into me. I don't consent. And neither should you. When you do, and when we have telepathy being more on the mainstream, being popularized, more people are learning how to hone in on those skills. We need to just hone in on these and remind ourselves that we need to become in neutrality. We need to express both our feminine and our masculine parts of our brain, the alchemical me and the I, the feminine and the masculine, the will and the creative. We need both. But many of us are heavy in one area, not the other. So we need to learn how to balance them out. Again, the battery doesn't work if it has only one pole. A lot of strange. It's, you know what? It's Mercury, and I'm going to blame it. It's Mercury direct. We're in the shadow period. Shit's happening. Psionics, manipulating matter, telekinesis. It's very difficult, but it's not impossible. If more people started training their minds, their mindsets, started doing the mental work of understanding these principles, all 7 of them, because they all bleed and overlay into each other. The polarity and vibration flows within gender. It overlays. And when we're looking at what has come into our purview in this world, in this current time, are you allowing other people's wills to dictate to you what to feel and think, and then how to express it out? Because a lot of people are running with that right now. Or are you critically thinking, stepping into your I am presence and understanding that you're not going to let another will impose on you unless you consent to it? You know, because when you're being hypnotized, it could be for several different reasons. It could be for good. Again, my mom was hypnotized, my adopted mom. She used to be a very, very heavy smoker. And she went to a hypnotist and she stopped smoking. But you can also go to the quantum hypnotic suggestions for past life regressions. That is not a bad thing at all. It's in the delivery. It's what the will is imposing and seeding into your feminine mind. And we really need to be careful because these people have studied this, understand these principles, and manifest it. And we could see that because people are still walking around as if others are going to kill them over a germ. I won't go too further into that. I'm not here to offend anybody. But how a lot of people were watching television and still are, and still running with what other people are telling them. instead of thinking for yourself and doing the research yourself and coming to your own conclusions, your own take, your perceptions on topics, whatever it may be. This part of the ending principle is an extremely important one. Because when you start being cognizant of another person trying to overbear on you, trying to manipulate you, you can apply these principles to transmute and overcome what they're suggesting. It's all up here in the pineal gland. It's all about balancing the chemicals within you. It's all about understanding the physics and the mechanics of how all of these things form. Because then eventually you can manipulate matter with just using your mind. Because you're going to have the ability to visualize and conceptualize what you want something to do and put the energy out, the proper energy out to manipulate an object. And for my extraterrestrial fans, how do you think some of the races can take over a human host? They have the strong masculine energy to overcome one who's sitting idly by in their feminine pole, because they're not balanced. Most people sit in their feminine. Where are you sitting? Write it in the comments. I want to know how this book, these principles, have helped you understand the components of the universe, how it all comes together, how you can use this on an everyday basis. And other books beautifully describes this. Yesterday, I read Blavatsky, and in stanza 6, holy shit, I was like, wow, I'm reading just about everything that I was taking notes on yesterday. Wow. Right? This was the beginning, the start of how others in the scientific community and the people who are studying the mind were able to grasp duality, were able to grasp concepts, because this stuff was written. These principles were always there. Very long time ago. The ancients knew these laws in and out. The student was taught and trained in these principles. Because it's esoteric doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. Again, it's the intention you put into something that makes it good or bad, positive or negative. The laws of the universe are the laws of one, is a law that happens up in the higher planes. They don't go by religion. They don't, there's no religion. Sorry to hang, you know, that's my opinion, but they go by laws of physics, laws of mathematics. All the 7 Hermetic principles are laws of nature, laws of the universe. It's up to us to study them, understand them at least, and then try to transmute and apply it alchemically to our own lives. The changing our mindsets, understanding we inhabit both poles, negative and positive, feminine and masculine, to understand that we can change inside our mental state and our chemical state. It's understanding the physics, the anatomy of atoms, how it works. The next time I'm going to do the ending of the book and do a more overview on it. But unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for you guys, I mean, it's a lot of notes and sitting there and like trying to make my insights and do it on my own. But again, there's some things that just words from other sources don't do it justice. And with this section, I haven't really found any other people giving insight that really was less or more confusing to people who are new to these concepts. And, you know, again, I'm not necessarily here to shallow down the water, sort of say, but there are people now just waking up trying to learn. And I want to be a bridge to that learning. So I'm probably going to keep this short and sweet. I hope you got something out of this. For all my Hermetic scholars out there, and I know there's a lot of you out there, please write in the comments what you think and would like to discuss with others. Give them insight. Maybe you have a better way of explaining the I and the me. My scientists out there, I would love your input. So please write it in the comments, because that not only helps me see another perspective that I didn't think of or didn't find, you're helping other people actualize and realize how important these principles are. And if people take the time to read the comments, and a lot of people do, there's a lot of learning to do, and there's a lot of people that have that knowledge. So please don't be bashful or hesitant. Please share it. I got some fun things in the works. It's going to take me time, though. One's on the Game of Thrones theory. That's going to take me a while. Like the Alien Gray Agenda took me some time to like actually edit and script it out. That it's a huge the Game of Thrones is a huge undertaking. And I want to go in depth with it. Also, World of Warcraft is coming back out again with the new expansion. So I am going to go back into the game theory and the simulated fun stuff. Spirit's been giving me a lot. But the next possible series, it might not be a series, I might just do a video on it, is the Hermit's Path, the journey of a hermit. And how a lot of us are walking with that right now. So a lot of us feel isolated and alone in society because, again, we're not allowing people to impose their will on us and give us and seed suggestions that are of the negative context. And right now it's not easy to walk that hermit path. So I'm doing a whole review and study of sorry guys. Also, and Plato's allegory of the cave. So I don't know when I'm moving. It's up in the air. I don't know. And I really don't know where I'm going. I'm still being divinely put in a place, but I have a lot of thinking to do. A lot. We'll see what happens. But until the next time, please be safe. Have a wonderful week. Be easy on yourselves. I'm trying to do the same for myself. I'll see you on the next one, guys.